On this episode of Three Bros Sports, brought to you by the one, the only, the easiest way to make a podcast, Anchor FM. It's an all NFL podcast once again as we're going over the inaugural playoff season for the Three Bros podcast. Can the Patriots fall off this year? Also, we got some young, scrappy teams that are looking to make their way in. Also, the repeat of the Vikings and Saints. Brett, you're going to definitely love this one. And also, we got to go over for the draft order. As we've talked about the toilet bowl, now we got to go over the teams for the draft as well. But first,
shut up and sit down.
And welcome back to another Three Bros podcast. I'm Connor.
I'm John Paul.
Once again, I went to Kinko's the other day. I just want to throw this out here. I went to Kinko's. I demanded my Calvin cardboard cutout, and they still didn't get it to me in time, as Calvin was unable to make it again today. So I'm sorry to the ladies and gents who wanted to see his amazing face.
Yeah, I was going to try and print out a picture of him, but my printer was out of ink, so sorry about that,
yeah,
Calvin.
Kinko's isn't very helpful, by the way. I just want to let you know right now. They weren't very nice to me. I don't know if they'd be very nice to you. But it's just a podcast of two college students today that can go on about sports forever, and the playoffs are coming by. It's the NFL playoffs, and it's actually a really interesting one for me, as all these teams are really top-heavy. I don't think, besides the Seahawks, all these teams actually are really entertaining to watch and could easily make a run all the way. Now, we'll just start off in order, as for some reason the NFL decided to do all AFC games on Saturday and all NFC games on Sunday, which a priority. NFC is kind of the more funner division to watch. Funner, is that a real word?
More fun.
Okay, thanks.
Funner, whatever.
Yeah, who cares by now? I mean, it's our podcast.
If funner isn't a word by now,
I mean, it should be.
Yeah. I mean, they put random words in the dictionary all the time. Yeah. People say funner all the time. So
yeah, I mean, I agree.
It's a word here on the Three Bros Sports podcast.
Yeah, we're adopting it for ourselves. All right, so the first game so far of this playoffs is going to be the 10-6 Bills against the 10-6 Texans. Now, Buffalo is a little interesting. They're 23rd in points scored, second in points allowed. Josh Allen, this dude is like Cam Newton 2.0. He's got 9 rushing touchdowns this year. Would we consider him as Cam Newton 2.0 with his ability to run?
I think that's a fair argument.
I think it's a fair comparison. Yeah. I don't know any other ones I'm missing.
Mean, if you're just talking about running ability, obviously Cam Newton is a much bigger quarterback. But
yeah, but Allen has like the bigger strides, I think. That's kind of where he has his advantage. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, Devin Singletary's also been a really fun back this year. I looked at him as a Le'Veon Bell coming out of college of – he was really patient. He waited for a gap to open. He'd be able to exploit anything given to him. He was a really solid running back, and he's done the same exact thing in the NFL. And not to mention their defense, like I said, second in points allowed. Tre'Davious White, 6 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles. They've been really killing it.
Yeah, and I mean, against a Texas offense that has been pretty average over the year. I mean, they have their moments, but games against, like a good game, for example, would be like when they didn't show up against the Broncos. I mean, they have their moments where they really don't play well together. I mean, maybe not play well together, but put up the numbers that they would hope. And I think that might be the difference in this game, is Buffalo's defense playing so well that they did the whole season. And it's really going to be up to Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins to put up some points. And I also think, this might be a good game for the Buffalo offense. You mentioned Singletary and Josh Allen, Cole Beasley. I mean, it's going to be a tough game for the Texans to win, but, they can do it. But I think that defense is going to make the difference in this game.
Yeah, now we're going into the Texans side. You kind of jumped right into it for me. But the Bills are 8th in rushing yards so far this year. And now for the Texans, they're a little different. This is the only team coming into the postseason that, on average, allows more than they actually score. So that's a little interesting. Now, J.J. Watt, he's coming back, so that'll definitely bolster up on the defensive end. Watson's had a really good year so far. It's been a sneaky year, not an MVP caliber season, but 26 touchdowns, 7 rushing touchdowns, and only 12 interceptions. He was sacked 44 times this year, which is a big difference because last year it was 62, and it looked as if maybe 5-year-olds were out there on the offensive line. Nobody wanted to cover him. It just seemed like a game of how many times he could get hit.
Yep.
I mean, now they actually have a really solid running back, Carlos Hyde, a former 49er, who I really did like, but dude was really inconsistent. But he He's had a really good, consistent year so far. 1,070 yards, 6 touchdowns as well. Now, this Texans team, it's kind of a hit or miss with them. But if I'm going to be taking a team, I'd have to be going Buffalo on this one, just on the basis of Houston's been a really up and down. I can't figure out where they're really going.
Yeah, I had to agree with you with that. I took Buffalo as well. I think this is going to be a close game. But like I said, I think defense is going to make the difference in this. My score prediction was 20-17. I think it's going to be close up until the end, but I do think that Buffalo's defense is going to push them over the top, and again, Josh Allen's offense is going to be able to perform in this game, and we'll see how it goes the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah, because, I mean, defense wins championships, and especially in these situations, it's really who has the better defense. And even with having J.J. Watt coming back, I don't know if it's going to be enough for them. But Calvin would like to disagree with me, as he told us his picks before we got on, and he has the Texans winning this game, which he probably is going to end up being right, because we've been really off so
Knowing
far.
Calvin, yeah.
Yeah,
He seems to be like psychic or something.
And now here's the second game for the AFC. Now this one, I'm calling an upset here, as it's the 9-7 Titans going up against the 12-4 Patriots. Now, one thing I at least want to throw in here is that it's going to be a rainy game. This isn't going to be a sunshine game. It's going to be cold and wet. So that means it's going to be a run-heavy game. And doesn't that just scream Derrick Henry, 175 rushing yards, like 2 touchdowns? I mean, Ryan Tannehill. I joked around saying that he could replace Tom Brady and there'd be no difference this year. No, it would be more than just a slight difference. It would be a ginormous difference based on how great Tannehill's played. 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions so far, in only 6 starts.
AFC Player of the Month.
Yeah, and also Derrick Henry, 1,540 yards, 16 touchdowns. 16. This dude has been a manimal out there. And the Patriots' defense has been a little rocky. So I think the possibility of this, the Titans upsetting the Patriots, it's there. I like the odds on it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. This is a tough game to predict, because I could definitely see the Titans coming in and upsetting the Patriots at home. But, it's tough to, go against the Patriots at home, especially in the playoffs. Their defense played well most of the year. Like you said, they were kind of rocky towards the end.
Yeah, 4-4 after the 8-0 start.
Yeah, and I mean, it's been hard, trying to win the whole game with your defense, because Tom Brady really hasn't been playing the same. The offense has really been struggling. Receivers have been struggling to get open. So I could definitely see the Titans coming in and upsetting them and taking advantage of the Patriots' struggles as of late. But again, to reiterate what I said earlier, it's tough to take a team coming into Foxborough in the playoffs and beating Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and the Patriots. But
yeah, it is tough. I give you that.
I would love to see it, though.
But at the same time, when has the Patriots have to gone up against such a dominant rusher with Derrick Henry so early? I mean, they've been slipping. They really have been. I mean, Brady hasn't thrown for more than 275 yards in the last 4 games. It's been a really run-heavy type team. I just don't know how much they're going to be able to succeed against this Titans team, because they're hot. I mean, I understand they had that bad loss to the Saints, but they came back and then they ended up beating the Titans. They've played really solid so far. I mean, if they keep riding the hot hand, the only issue I would have with them is Tannehill's only problem is he has as many fumbles as he does interceptions. He has 6 fumbles. So that's going to play a little bit of an issue, especially when the rating conditions. But you can't keep fumbling if you're going to hand it off to Derrick Henry, 30, 35 times?
Yeah.
You abuse the living crap out of his capabilities. You really do.
I mean, if they can't shut Henry down this game, it's
all Titans.
It's all Titans, and it's gonna, if they can do that, it's gonna rest on Tannehill's shoulders. So we'll see what happens. But the Titans coach Vrabel, played for New England under Belichick for a long time, so he's got to have an idea of what they're gonna try to do. They're going to try to stop Henry, obviously. That's pretty clear. But, let's hope the Titans go in there and upset Brady. And, give him a nice long vacation with his wife in Cabo, or wherever they go.
Yeah, him and Gasell, they need to have a little spend alone time. Maybe Brady can give some extra love to his kids off the field. But here's the one big reason why I'm actually going to believe the Texans can be able to pull this off. Now, let's say in the scenario. Now, here's the reason why I think the Titans could be able to pull this off is because if you're going to hand it off to Derrick Henry to 30, 35 times throughout the game, you're draining a lot of clock. And that's the biggest thing with the Patriots is if it's a pass-heavy team, the Patriots can be able to come back and score real easily. That's what happened against the Texans, where they made things a lot closer than it really should have been on that Sunday night game. So for the Titans, as long as you're playing run heavy and you're just draining as much clock as possible with the long incremental drives for a field goal, as Alex Smith would like to do, it's going to be really successful for the Titans because you're going to be draining out that Patriots defense. And also, they're strong. The Patriots' strongest aspect on the defensive end, they have 3 defensive backs with 5+ interceptions. McCourty, Stephon Gilmore, and then J.C. Jackson, another defensive back. They all have 5+. So it's definitely, if you can be able to eliminate them and be able to force New England to really load up on the box, then the possibilities are almost endless.
Yeah. I mean, on the top of the Patriots, though, I kind of wanted to ask you, a lot of NFL experts are, talking about Brady playing for the Chargers next year. What do you take? What is your take on all that with him playing somewhere else next year and not being in a Patriots uniform?
So here's my thing. I can see him wanting to go back to California. I could definitely see the possibility of going to a team like the Chargers. But when I'm thinking about it more, I could see Brady wanting to switch over to the NFC, and one team in particular, Chicago Bears. Now, this one seems a little weird. I understand. The cold conditions are the same as New England, so he still has that advantage for him. But he now also has a Andy Reid type offense. As Matt Nagy, he was for the Chiefs, the offensive coordinator. He worked with Andy Reid, and they do have a creative offense. Just Mitchell Trubisky can't run it.
Right.
And I think having that type of offense could actually be really beneficial for Tom Brady, easing up a lot of extra throws on him. I mean, I could see Chicago being a more realistic chance than the Chargers.
Yeah.
Just because I could see Tyrod Taylor taking the starting role because we forget about him. He's actually a solid quarterback. He dealt with some injuries in Cleveland.
Well, is Phillip Rivers on his way out?
There's
that
talks
what
about it.
About?
I've heard a rumor saying that he may go to Tennessee.
Hey.
I could see him doing that.
He would fit in well there, I think.
But I think the biggest guy for the Chargers, and this would be the weirdest of them all, but the most Charger move, Jameis Winston. I don't know if we can say he had a good year or a bad year.
Impressive.
It was impressive.
Yeah.
It was definitely a Madden type season of you're on like the all pro and you don't really know what you're doing. Like you're just an air raid offense.
Yep.
But you also aren't seeing the defenders at all. They're just blending into the screen.
Calling 4 verticals every third down you get.
Basically, I mean, he threw for over 5,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. Like 2 of the 3 were good. Now the other one, he keeps saying, I know the interceptions are bad, but I'm one of the greatest quarterbacks in the league. Are you? I mean, is he?
I don't know. I mean, maybe compared to like Ryan Finley.
Yeah, he's right up there with Ryan Finley. He's definitely elite.
If you're comparing yourself to the bottom teams, then maybe.
Maybe there's a possibility about that. I don't really. But to kind of summarize, I don't see Brady really leaving for California or even Chicago. If anything, he does stay in New England. But if he did decide to leave and do a Joe Montana, definitely could see him in Chicago. And I could agree with you. I could see the Chargers, but it's kind of tough to envision Tom Brady on a different team.
It really is.
And also for just the Patriots, Bill Belichick, there's now rumors saying that he's going to leave and he's going to want to work for the Giants. Now, I guess it's a reunion for working with the Giants as he was an assistant with Bill Parcells out there. Oh, come on. These are just the Giants fans just going crazy right now.
Just trying to grab onto anything they can to stay afloat.
It's Boomer Central right now.
Oh, yeah.
They're all thinking, Belichick's going to come around and save us. Daniel Jones will be the next Brady. It's like, no.
Belichick's not going anywhere.
Maybe if you're lucky, you'll get Freddie Kitchens if you really want a head coach. Just go take Freddie Soups.
I don't know if anyone wants to do that again.
Yeah, the Browns will probably say, you've messed up once, and we'll give you a second chance next year if they really gave up on him.
Yeah.
But now, I'll get to the NFC in a little bit, but I at least want to space it out. as we got time. We have all the time in the world. So do you, since you're listening to this show right now. And now I kind of want to go over some of the head coaches that were fired. Now, it hasn't been fully confirmed Jason Garrett is fired, but there was a text sent to an ABC Dallas reporter by an assistant for the Cowboys saying, we're fired. And the reporter asked back, who? The response, all of us, indicating that they will be fired, but we don't know for a fact yet. Yeah. So I don't want to be put on blast saying, oh, you said it, so it had to happen. No, I'm just saying exactly what the report said.
I think if the Cowboys keep Jason Garrett for another season, there will be riots in the street in Dallas and all over the country. I mean, it's America's team, so...
Yeah, let's put quotations around that.
Yeah, America's team.
Are they really America's team anymore?
I don't know. I think if any team is America's team, it's the Patriots, because come playoff time... Yeah. Non-football fans are going to put on a Patriots jersey because there's a good chance they'll be in the Super Bowl, and then they can just brag about how their team won.
Yeah, exactly.
Patriots. Sorry, we'll cut that out. We gotta keep it G-rated on here. I could go in on that though.
Oh, I know. We both could keep this a rated R podcast if we really wanted to express our feelings and discomfort with the Patriots. And happily, we're not saying that on TV Delmarva when we're live.
Yes.
So don't you worry. We'll bleep it for you.
I've done well so far. So.
Yes, you have. I've surprisingly done well myself. For about 4 years of broadcasting, I've watched a lot of iffy games, and I'm surprised nothing has slightly slipped out. Keeping it G.
Yeah, I'm sure if we had this podcast like last year or the year before, anytime the 49ers came up, I'm sure there would be some cuss words thrown in there.
Oh, more than just a few. Well, at the end of the year, there wasn't, because I was pretty happy with Nick Mullins. But it was when Jimmy Garoppolo was playing those 3 games where I wanted to let out a lot, because he just didn't look right at all.
Nick Mullins was fun to watch, though.
He really was.
Yeah.
I think he may actually be traded for like a 3rd rounder and become a starter somewhere. I don't know where, but there's definitely a lot of opportunities for him.
Yeah.
And now another head coach I was fired was Freddie Soups from the Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
Now, basically, they're trying to approach everybody on the 49ers staff as defensive coordinator Robert Saleh, passing coordinator Matt LaFleur. There's someone else that I'm missing, but it's 3 guys that are being poached by the Browns to become the next head coach.
Yeah, I also saw they had an interview set up with Josh McDaniels, but do you honestly see him taking that job if he didn't want to go to the Colts?
No, because if Belichick does leave in that situation, then McDaniels will stay as a head coach. I think that's the reason why he didn't take the Colts job. Is because Belichick turned around to him saying, dude, I'm going to be gone in a few years. This Patriots team is yours.
Yeah.
That's what turned him around the last second. I really do.
That's a perfect job. I mean, there's no better coaching job in the NFL to get the Patriots. I mean, no one's done it in years, but
yeah.
Can you imagine?
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
it's basically just giving the keys to a Tesla/Lamborghini.
Yeah. It's
kind of like it just drives itself. You don't really got to do much. Yeah. It's like everybody knows what to do.
Yeah, I mean, you put that Patriots jersey on, you got 10 wins right there. Yeah. But I also saw that the Browns were trying to interview Greg Roman for Baltimore's offensive coordinator. He used to be on the Niners coaching staff. And also, for some reason, Vikings offense coordinator, Kevin Stefanski, which I don't really think is the greatest move because he's had some shaky play calling this year. But
yeah, but they're 8th in points so far. I guess that's kind of what he's holding his hat on. Kirk Cousins has looked pretty good. I guess that's kind of what we're going at for him.
Hey, if they want to hire him, all out. I will root for Kevin Stefanski. He's been on the Minnesota staff a long time. I think he started back with Brad Childress, so we'll see what happens.
And you also brought up Greg Roman, and that in itself is an awful idea because Roman is the mobile quarterback whisperer, not the Baker Mayfield whisperer. I don't see Baker actually developing with Roman because Roman, at his best, he does an amazing job with those mobile quarterbacks. Colin Kaepernick, he turned him into a top quarterback in his time before he left. Now Lamar Jackson, look at what he's doing. Baker Mayfield doesn't have that athleticism to him. And now, if it was like a Cam Newton, I could definitely see that happening. As actually, I was going to go into the Panthers. They're still looking for a head coach.
Well, would it not be the most Cleveland Browns move to trade Baker Mayfield? I mean, come on.
It probably would. And it'd definitely be an undervalued trade. It'd be like a 3rd rounder and maybe a free safety.
Yeah.
But he's a backup.
Mm-hmm.
I could definitely see Baker being traded for scrubs.
Yeah.
And you got to feel bad for Nick Chubb. One of the best rushers in all of the NFL. And you had 2 receivers that were basically there for your fantasy team. Both had 1,000 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing could be done. And then you lose to the Bengals.
Yeah.
The Bengals. I don't know what else you could be able to do to be that bad. But we were talking about Greg Roman, and I was kind of tying it into the Panthers. I could definitely see a match there if Cam Newton goes back for one more year.
Yeah.
Greg Roman could definitely be the guy because Newton's had a lot of time to heal up. I don't know what they want to do as Kyle Allen. He's not the future quarterback. As I said way before when this podcast began, he could be. He was 5-1. And I think you agreed with me too.
We definitely bought into the Kyle Allen hype.
Well, yeah, you buy into it if he's 5-1, and you don't have Sunday tickets, so you can't watch all the games. So you're kind of going off what the highlights are showing. It was good. He's not going to be changing that game. He's a game manager. He's not going to be a franchise type player. And Cam, he isn't either. He's a little past it, but he's better than Kyle Allen, and he works really well with McCaffrey.
Yeah, that might be someone who can come down to Carolina and resurge his career, and then before you know it, Cam Newton has a 3-year extension, and he's in the Panthers uniform, and we're not talking about him playing for the Bears anymore.
Yeah. All right. So we've kind of gone over the 3 teams that are missing a coach, but we haven't really gone over who's really interviewing them. So Brett, I know you got a little detail. What do you got?
Yeah, I got a whole list of coaches here who
Bring it on.
Are setting up for interviews with certain teams, but there was a few that I underlined and wanted to talk about. The Patriots special team coach has interviews with the Giants.
Oh, God.
So the Giants are going all out, try to get some New England players in there. So that's just interesting. Kind of just shows, how desperate they are. Like, wow, you seen the Patriots special teams play this year? I bet he could do that to our whole team.
Oh, man. And think of all the muffed fumbles that they've had.
I mean, you can't really blame that on the coach, though.
Can you?
I mean, if you can't catch football, it comes down to you can practice it as much as you want.
Yeah, but should you be out there in the first place?
I don't know. I'm not saying that they should hire him.
No, I agree.
I'm just saying.
Also, you have to remember John Harbaugh was a special teams coordinator for Andy Reid back in Philadelphia, and look at how great of a head coach he is now. So I should put a little bit more respect on the name.
Any special teams coaches listening out there are probably really mad at you right now. They're like,
probably.
There's 3 phases of a game. Special teams is one of them. No,
what about the trend of just doing 4 downs straight? I mean,
hey, it's going more and more that way.
Yeah, it is.
It's pretty much if you're a lot of teams, if you're on the opponent's or within their 50-yard line, might as well just go for it. I mean, and trust your defense. I mean, it's usually the better teams though. If you don't have a defense to rely on, they're punting that ball.
Yeah.
Also, Ravens defensive coordinator also has a interview with the Giants. Mike McCarthy. Do you think he gets hired this year?
Oh, he probably will be because of the Super Bowl ring.
A few teams that are interested in him: Browns, Panthers, and Giants. I think the Giants are pretty much just interested in everyone. They're trying to do whatever they can to get back and do something. But Josh McDaniels, Urban Meyer, Cleveland Browns might be an interesting place for him to go after coaching in Ohio State for a while. And that would be interesting to see how his college football career would translate into the NFL.
Yeah, and also Lincoln Riley was being thrown around a little bit, the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma.
Yep.
So
I mean, he's been there so long. I mean, what else do you have left to accomplish for your career?
I don't know, but also it's kind of the thrill of getting these young guys out of high school and be able to develop them. I think it's kind of the fun part to it.
I totally get that. I mean,
but if there's one coach out of all of them that I see likely being hired the most, it's going to be Mike McCarthy. And I could see him definitely going to the Giants of, well, we have a guy who won a Super Bowl. Yes, he wasn't very good with Aaron Rodgers, but we'll just put it to the side. As I've publicly stated my feelings of Mike McCarthy.
He wasn't very good with arguably one of the best quarterbacks of the decade.
Yeah, and he didn't like him much.
Let's give him a second chance.
Yeah, why not? And also, I mean, this guy used to just, he only got massages in his office. Oh, no problem with us. Instead of going to team meetings, easy. That's the Giants' way. I don't know if that really is, but I'm just joking about that. But now we at least got that middle segment out of the way. Now I really want to go into the NFC matchups. And Brett, I know you've been waiting for this one, as your Vikings are going to be up on the clock, as the 10-6 Vikings will be going up against the 13-3 Saints. Now the Vikings have been cold, bad 2 straight losses, but they're 8 points, 18th allowed. I mean, Cousins is. Now, there's always been this talk of, Kirk Cousins is awful against the playoff teams. But if we're going to look at on passing yardage.
Yeah, throw those numbers out there for all you Kirk Cousins haters.
It's 224 yards per game against playoff teams this year. and it's 241 versus non-playoff teams. So it's almost about a 20-yard difference, and that isn't awful. If we're going to talk about him choking, there has to be like an 80-yard difference, or of him not even getting 200 yards per game. And now, also, he's only been sacked so far 28 times, and that's versus 40 last year. So the offensive line has also improved as well. So to me, it almost feels as if the Vikings' real issues have been just with timing. It's just been a bad set of plays, but overall they've been solid. It's just been a couple bad eggs. It's kind of like the 3 steps forward, the 1 step back, but you're still at least progressing.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching, I don't know, it was one of those shows on ESPN, but they were throwing out the stats for it was Good Morning NFL, I'm pretty sure. But
yeah, probably.
Yeah, they were because they love the Vikings on that show, which is, I'm okay with. But they were showing the Kirk Cousins stats against New Orleans over like the past 3 times he's played them, and the numbers are good. I mean, the past 3 games he's thrown over for like 200 yards, at least 2 touchdowns, and only 1 interception in those 3 games. So, he's played well against them, but again, they're a team that if they can't run the ball and set up that play action, he's really going to struggle because the team won't sell. They'll stop the run and make Kirk Cousins beat you, and it hasn't really worked out. I mean, you saw that 2 weeks ago. I wouldn't really count that last game against Chicago because you had Sean Mannion in and all their backups on the offense and the defense. So take that with a grain of salt, but it's definitely going to be a tough game for them to go into the Superdome, beat this team with Drew Brees and Michael Thomas playing so well, and also the Saints defense. They're 4th best rush defense in the NFL, so they're going to be selling out against Kirk Cousins. They're going to be selling out against Dalvin Cook. And, Cam Jordan was trash talking Kirk Cousins. He says, they asked him, what kind of Dalvin Cook are you going to get on Sunday? And he said, well, I'm just worried about what kind of Kirk Cousins we're going to get. And he seems to know which one he's going to get.
Yeah, I mean, Dalvin Cook being back is huge for you guys. Yes. You can tell the difference of when he's out there versus when he's not. Even Madison's been banged up, so even the backup. And just going down on your 3rd string is rough, especially when you're going up against a team like New Orleans that is dead last in turnovers. They've only had 8 so far. This means Minnesota has to outduel them. That's how the Niners were able to prevail. And that's why the Saints scared the living bejesus out of me as a 49er fan, because they don't produce any turnovers, and the Niners' biggest strength is creating turnovers on the defensive end. So that scares me off to the point you have to outduel them, and that's how the 49ers had such a high-scoring game. It looked like a basketball game at halftime.
Yeah, I mean, but I can't remember the last time the Vikings put up it was Chargers. But, I mean, it's against the Chargers. But this is going to have to be a big game for Stephon Diggs. Adam Thielen's coming back, which is huge. Hopefully he can have a good game. Looked a little slow when he came back against that Week 16 game, so we'll see what happens. It's definitely, like I said, I think it's going to be on Kirk Cousins' shoulders because they know they're going to try and get it to Dalvin Cook, and I hope to God that his shoulder can withstand those 4 quarters because he has really been struggling to keep that shoulder healthy and
get an extra shoulder pad on him.
And reasonably, I mean, you see how he runs the ball. Every time the play's about to end, he's going full speed with that shoulder into the defender. So we'll see what they can do. I hope that the Vikings get a win. I'll be rooting for them, obviously, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, my predictions haven't been very good recently, so you can at least get that. So I'm going to be going with the Saints because this is just such a high offensive battle. I don't see Kirk Cousins being able to match it. I see him competing, and it's going to be a really close game, but I see the Saints being able to prevail off in that 4th quarter where Kirk just kind of like, he's done enough. You can't get much more out of him. That's kind of my fear.
Yeah, I mean, as a fan, I'm taking the Vikings to win, but subjectively, I'll take the Saints to win. I had a score prediction of 31-21. I think it's just going to be hard for the Vikings to stop Michael Thomas in that offense, and Xavier Rhodes has really struggled all season. He's going to be on Michael Thomas all game.
Yeah, who's had 1,725 receiving yards. 1,700. And he's not even a running back. Like, normally a running back that gets 1,700, like, that's super impressive already. But no, just as a receiver. The dude's breaking berries. He's averaging 108 yards per game. That's insane.
That's all you got to say. I mean, I can't even say anything about that. It's going to be tough, that's for sure.
Yeah, it really is. And also, Calvin, so all 3 of us on the subjectively, we're all going to be going Saints on this one. And the final game, I don't really want to count this one, and I hate that the Eagles get home field advantage, as it's a 12-4 Seahawks on the 9-7 Eagles. It bugs me that the Eagles get home field advantage. I'm sorry, it should be record-based for home field advantage. It really should be. I don't care about the division, as the NFC East was a joke.
It really was.
The New York Giants were competitive, and they were only a couple games out of actually making it. That's sad. It really is as a division. Dallas should have been in it. They had the talent. They didn't care enough. Jason Garrett didn't know how to coach a team or what a football really was. But, I mean, the Seahawks, 9th in points, 22nd allowed. They've had 24 points scored on them in the last 6 games, which is a little scary. I mean, Russell Wilson, 4,100 yards, 31 touchdowns, 5 picks. They have beast mode back. Now, the only problem for Seattle is... let's just hope that they're not on the 1-yard line, as they haven't learned from their mistakes yet. As my 49ers were able to gain the NFC West and also a bye week because the Seattle Seahawks don't know what to do when the ball's on the 1-yard line and you have Marshawn Lynch as your running back.
Maybe their thought was like, everyone thinks we're definitely going to run it this time, but we're going to pass it again.
Yeah, well, let's just take a delay a game. We'll get moved back to the 6-yard line this time. Yeah. Who cares about running the play? Who needs that? We'd rather be on the 6-yard line. We'd rather tear apart the Niners' soul doing it that way. And Seattle definitely should have won that game. No ifs, ands, or buts. They should have won. But their idiocracy idea of just having a huddle for 40 seconds and not even realizing that the play clock's going down. You deserve to lose just on that. I'm sorry. They fought back in the second half. They were really good to watch, but you deserve to lose from that. Now, the Eagles, they're riding a little bit of a hot streak right now. I don't care much about them. I really don't. But for some reason, I could see them upsetting Seattle just because Seattle's defense has been really iffy. But then again, what receivers does Philly have to really torch them? I mean, Zach Ertz, he could go off because if Kittle can do it, Ertz can do it.
Top receiver is Ford, who played quarterback at the beginning of the season. So we'll see. An interesting thing, I think that it's definitely going to come down to the quarterback play. I think that Russell Wilson, I just think Russell Wilson can definitely win this game for Seattle. Like you mentioned, a lot of players are injured on the Eagles. Who are they going to throw the ball to? I mean, the running backs have played decent, but not the best. And I think that Seattle is trying to go for this championship, and I don't think the Eagles really know what they're at right now.
Yeah,
I think they're just surprised that they're in it.
Yeah, I really think so
they're
as
like,
well.
Oh, we're actually winning, and congrats to them for, in the last 4 weeks, beating teams without winning records to get in. Congratulations, Eagles fans. You did it.
Oh, I know. I fully agree with you on that. And there's, like, today at work, there are so many Eagle fans who walked in saying, oh, we're going to be fine. Who cares? It's like, Nick Foles isn't here to save you again, guys. Do you guys remember that? He's not there. And Alshon Jeffrey isn't there either. As bad as he's been, at least he was a reliable receiver. Aguilar would be dropping passes if he was still healthy. It's like, what do you guys have?
Yep.
You're expecting Carson Wentz to literally throw the ball to himself and catch it and then run in for like 8 touchdowns.
Now, for the people listening to us out there, I don't want you to think that we're biased against the Eagles or anything. You just got to consider that we live in the area where you can't go anywhere without hearing the Eagles this time of year, especially when they're in the playoffs. When they won the Super Bowl, those Super Bowl championship shirts and hats were everywhere. People who hadn't watched a football game in 7 years were suddenly bringing out their Eagles jerseys. I mean, so I don't know if Connor's there yet because he just moved here from California.
I really don't care, but here's my thing. Your team is overrated. You're 9-7 because you went up against bad teams. I'm telling you the way it is. I mean, the 49ers shouldn't have got their bye week, if I'm being completely honest. They didn't deserve it. They've been playing way too close. They've gotten way too lucky with all these last-minute plays. They really haven't, but I don't care about the Eagles. I don't care about the Cowboys, but on paper, Dallas should have made it in. They should have. They had the team, and I hate Dallas. Don't get me wrong. I hate them, but they at least had a talented team that I could respect, but they just didn't care enough to get themselves in there. So now I got to deal with Philly fans barking down, oh, we're back again. It's like, no, you really aren't. You got a consolation prize for a division that didn't care.
Yeah, humble yourselves. You should be thankful you're even in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to say you could upset Seattle, maybe. But these fans are acting as if they're going back to the championship. Maybe you can upset Seattle if you're lucky enough, because Seattle's defense has been shaky.
You're done after that.
But you're done after that. You're not, even if it's Green Bay. Green Bay is going to whoop you out in Lambeau Field. You're not going to be doing anything against them. Let's get that out the way. I'm sorry. If I'm telling on the Three Bros podcast, I'm telling it the way it is, and if you're offended, I'm very sorry.
I wish we could have got those Eagles instead of those Saints, man.
I mean, in our demographic on listeners, a lot of them are from Maryland, so they represent the Ravens. So I don't feel too off about going off on the Eagles, thinking we're going to lose a lot of support. Because I'm just telling you it the way it is, and if you really can't, if you don't like that, I don't know what other podcast is going to try to sugarcoat things for you. I'm sorry. That's not what we're doing here. Even my 49ers, I'm blunt with them. Calvin's Cardinals, he's blunt with them. Your Vikings, you're blunt with them as well. That's the way we're doing things. Now, we're not going to be blunt like Stephen A., but we're at least going to tell things straight up.
The dude's a bum.
And now going into the final picks of this game, I think you can tell by the way we've been talking. I'm going to go Philly. No, I'm kidding. No. As much as, even last podcast, I said that there's a possibility. But then when I remembered, after I got some common sense, somebody like hit a coconut on my head. Then I realized that I was just really dumb saying that. So, yes, I'll flip-flop on this one. I don't really care. I have Seattle winning this game, but I'm also saying at the same time, like, I could see the possibility of Philly winning it, but it's just not likely.
Yeah, I also have Seattle in this. I think it's going to be a close game. For some reason, just because I see it coming down to that.
It's going to be a defensive game.
But I think it's going to be settled by a field goal, and I think that Seattle's going to win it.
Yeah, I do too. And also Calvin joins us in on that as well. So
now I feel good about it.
Yeah, now we can feel a little better about it, as he just hit a hot streak right when I went down. Like, he just went right up there. So we're relying on him. Thank you, Calvin. Sorry your cutout's not here. You can blame the guy at Kinko's.
Yeah, at least he's not here to rub it in our faces, though.
I'm surprised he didn't do it that as much. I'm really...
He's a humble guy.
Yeah, he is. He's a little humble. Sometimes on the text messages, I can see a couple things that maybe he's not... He's trying to tell me that the Cardinals next year are going to be the best team in the NFC West. So let's pump the brakes here, bud. Let's just pump it a little bit. Let's slow down here, as I think the 49ers will be taking advantage for a couple years. Even the Rams will be bouncing back, and Seattle's not going anywhere. But before we end it off, I at least want to go over for the NFL draft. As the top two teams, we already know the top two picks. Basically, the Bengals are going to go first, and it's going to be Joe Burrows. And the Redskins will be second, and it's going to be Chase Young. Now, Brett, out of those two, which one's going to make the bigger impact for their respective teams? Kind of a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah.
As they're both really just bad teams.
They're both really bad teams. They need help in so many different areas. Where do you start with either of these teams, really? But I think that just based on the fact that Burrow plays quarterback, I think that's going to make a bigger impact on paper and in the games than Chase Young, unless the Redskins somehow fix some more pieces on their defense and allow Chase Young to really have a spectacular season. Because, I mean, if you're the only elite player on that defense, there's 10 other guys in that field.
Yeah.
And they're going to focus on you. So, that could be a reason why his stats maybe decline a little bit. But I think Burrow will, if the Cincinnati Bengals don't take Burrow at that first pick, I would be really surprised. And I think that he's going to, be the face of that franchise for years to come.
Yeah, I like that, but I agree with you on it. But at the same time, I think Chase Young is going to be more impactful. As on the defensive end, it's a big building piece to build a good defense, and they have Jack Del Rio as defensive coordinator now. I like him. I think Ron Rivera, he's a very good defensive-minded coach.
Yep.
A lot of people will forget that the defense they had in Carolina with Cam Newton was just elite on all levels. They were super solid, developing Luke Kuechly. Chase Young, 16.5 sacks, and when I watch him, he reminds me of a young Alden Smith. If he just blows by everybody, maybe even a Nick Bosa as well. And the future's really bright for him. And now Burrows, don't get me wrong, he's going to be one of the he's going to be one of the greatest quarterbacks in the league in a few years. I just think Chase Young is going to make the bigger impact because, I mean, you can be a great quarterback, but what offensive line do you have? None. You have a great running back, and you have two really solid receivers and a decent tight end. But if you don't have the offensive line, nothing can happen through that. You're going to be screwed.
Right.
So Chase Young kind of has the advantage for that.
I'm also
so
wondering,
far.
I wonder if Cincinnati would take Chase Young with the first pick because
They could.
their defense was so bad last year. Where do you want to start? Do you want to fix your offense,
I
or
don't
do you
know.
want to stop other teams from scoring points?
Yeah, and like at the beginning of the year, I would have said the same for Miami. But at least Miami, like you can see a lot more effort with them, the way that they're playing, and it looks like they could have a couple building blocks here and there. So I can't hand the torch to them. It's got to be with the Bengals. I mean, the defense was god awful.
Yeah.
At least with the Redskins, like I feel like they have a couple decent pieces. They still have Landon Collins. We forget about him. Josh Norman, make what you want about him, but he could be decent here and there depending on matchups. But the Redskins would benefit a lot more than the Bengals. I mean, there's just too many holes for that Bengals team to fill.
Yeah.
And sadly, I know it's the worst time of the day for you, the listener or the viewer on the YouTube channel, 3 Bros Sports. I know, but we're going to be wrapping it up today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Next week's going to be a little bit different as I'm going to be in California. So you'll either hear me on the phone or we're going to work something out behind the scenes. We've yet to really discuss that yet. But on Saturday, 3 Bros Sports Show, TV Delmarva, 1 p.m. after the Michael Sprouse A&E Coastal Show. We'll be on as usual. I'll be Facebook living in from Las Vegas International Airport.
Be there.
And it'll be 3 a.m. my time. Or no, 4 a.m. So I'm already scared out of my mind being in Las Vegas at such a bad hour doing the show. But I'm doing it for you guys because you guys are special. I'm pointing at you. And if you can't see it, I'm pointing at you. Just so you know.
You'll be in the airport. You're fine.
Yeah, and it's going to be for the next 2 shows for that. And the second, so not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, which would be the 11th, I'm going to be in California. It's 4 a.m. my time. I don't think I can wake up for that. And I don't want to be that guy doing it. So, Brett Snyder.
All groggy and...
Yeah, so, Brett, you'll be taking over on Saturday for us.
Hopefully I can get Calvin in here too, not just sitting here by myself.
No.
3 bros minus 2 of them. 1 bro.
Yeah, that'd be a weird title.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely be working something out. I'll definitely be in for Thursday. I mean, even if we are back at our original recording place, then it'd be a lot easier with the equipment that we would have there to do so. So I can't wait to see what happens throughout the next week. So guys, thank you so much. Happy New Year's 2020. We're definitely going to be getting better every single podcast. Don't you worry. We will be better every time. That's the goal. Thank you guys so much. I'm Connor.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Calvin.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Can't wait to see you guys on Saturday. TV Delmarva. See you guys. 3 Bro Sports would like to thank Anchor FM for sponsoring this podcast and Benjamin Tissot on bensound.com for the amazing intro, outro music.